we are live, ready to jump into some prayer. We do this every morning. We've been doing it since the beginning of time, and we're going to keep on rolling. So why don't you lead us in a prayer here to ground us, to connect us, to recenter us, and then from there we'll launch into conversation. See what comes up.
I love it. I just appreciating seeing Amir. He just shared on Instagram, ready to receive. Ready to receive. And so wherever we are at in our lives right now, whatever is taking place internally, whatever is taking place externally, let's just find that space ready to receive, whether you're walking or you're in stillness. Just allow yourself to receive these moments to come. Prayer is a universal language. It doesn't matter what religion, what background, what faith. It doesn't matter what the color of our skin is, what our situation is economically or in society, where we're living, where our health is at right now. There's no external factor that can block us or stop us from being able to enter into this sacred space of connection with our higher power. And so wherever you're at right now, getting ready to receive, just opening your mind and opening your heart to receive these prayers. My Lord, help me to experience you in each moment of my life. Everything that I'm looking for, everything that I try to control, everything that I think needs to be a certain way that isn't. Help me to soften that grip on my vision, on what I think is right and what I think is wrong in life. Help me to soften that grip and help me to enter back into the space, remembering that I'm in a river and that you're taking me closer to you through every experience and every circumstance in my life. My consciousness is either receiving the grace in each one of those moments, either receiving the lessons and the teachings, the insights, the love, the gratitude for each moment of my life, uncovering gems, uncovering treasures of what you're bringing to me in my life, or I'm blocking you. For some reason, I'm keeping you out of my life and not allowing for those great gifts, for those great treasures to be revealed. And please help me to receive those gifts in whatever circumstance I'm in my life, those insights that help me to connect more deeply with you and with my true nature, which is unshakable, unbreakable, that doesn't change when everything outside of me changes, that doesn't change when the body changes or external circumstances change. My true self that is constant, that is steady, and that is connected to you. Help us to reawaken that connection. Help us to have the courage to believe that connection is available for us. And through every experience in our life, that we can come closer to you, calling out to you, talking to you, speaking to you, letting that dialogue be alive, be open in every moment of our life. I pray for all of us right now. Each of us can experience that connection a little bit more today. That no matter what is happening in our life, positive, amazing, celebration, or we're having a challenge or a difficulty, whatever is coming in our life externally, or the internal storms or joys that may flow through us, that let us keep you in the center of our life. Let us keep your devotees and those that are attempting to keep you in the center of our life. Let us keep them in the center of our life as well. Let us all serve together to support each other in putting you in the center of our life. May experience that connection. Experience that which we're looking for more deeply than anything in our life, that which we're anxious for, that love and that connection. May all experience that a little bit more today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, as always, Vera, connecting us, um, bringing us to higher consciousness. So sweet. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us, all of you on Instagram Live, and we have a few Zoomers here. We dual broadcast this morning conversation on Instagram Live through the Bhakti Center, and also we have a Zoom link for people joining in with us. We're glad to see everybody, and this is the prayer revolution. That's what I'm calling it. That's what I'm calling it right now. The idea that as you were speaking, also. It was also, I was thinking it's an evolution. It's evolving the way in which we reach out to God. That normally, like you think of like a prayer group and saying, anybody any prayer requests? Pray for this, pray for that, pray for the other. Those are all good and great things. But really it's almost like evolving the way we reach out and make that connection with the divine higher power, not to give me or grant me or do, but to really, it's that serenity prayer, really, at all times. Grant God, dear, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's really make me a vessel, make me an instrument in a nutshell. And the sort of the extension of that prayer that I love so much is, my dear Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that that one is me. And so change in the world really comes from within. And I want to change the world. How about I change myself? I want to save the world. How about I look towards changing internally? And if I can make that change internally, I can make the world a better place right here, right now. So that's the revolution. That's the evolution, and that's what we're talking about. So, how
Appreciate
you doing?
it.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I was reflecting on that in my meditation today. Just that it's like, what do we actually have control over in our life? Where is the free will? Where does it actually reside? And my experience in life has been that primarily that the free will, it exists in my consciousness. Like, how am I choosing to perceive what's taking place in my life? That I have choice there, that I have choice, and that choice is either totally empowering and transformative and helps me to grow and to awaken, or that choice is limiting, some limiting belief that's being placed on me, and that is kind of taking away that power of being able to see God in every moment of our life, and to experience that through this moment and through this exchange, through whatever is happening, that I'm coming closer. Like, I'm actually evolving. I'm actually transforming and coming closer to the Lord through that consciousness. And so, just appreciating you highlighting that, and for all of us, it's like, man, like, okay, what circumstance is coming today in my life, and what consciousness am I approaching it with? That consciousness, no matter what the circumstance is, that consciousness can be so liberating and so transformative. Or no matter what the circumstances, that consciousness could be totally, totally just, it could suck, even if we have everything in the world, that consciousness could just pull us down into the mud, or even if we have nothing, that consciousness can take that one, bowl of rice and be so grateful for it that it, we're crying tears of gratitude. And it's all the state of our heart and the state of our consciousness that really,
totally
really is revealing that. And so just reflecting on that today, for myself, that, so often I project out, the changes that need to happen externally. And really it's just becoming this reminder that anytime I'm trying to change something externally, that this has to change in order for me to be okay. It's like, man, I'm setting myself up. It's a trap. It's a sticky trap, that it does not stop. It's a web that will just keep spinning me more and more entangled into it. But when I look at myself and say, hey, what's the consciousness you're approaching this with? Where are you at, bro? Like, where's your consciousness at? And if that consciousness shifts, then it's like everything shifts. The color of the glasses changed, and the perception changes. And so,
how do you shift that consciousness?
I shift that consciousness. Well, you know, this morning was I'm meditating, right? And it's like I noticed that there's this dependency on my mind. There's this dependency on my ego, dependency on intelligence, and you know, whatever it is this dependency on actually my false self. You know,
Mm.
and so it's, you know, today was shifting that dependency to Krishna, shifting that dependency to
Mm.
God, and
Mm-hmm,
just saying
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that right now I'm trying to change that which I can't. You know, help me to change myself.
Yeah.
Help me to change myself so that when I'm coming into this circumstance, it's so in a prayer, in a submission, and an awareness of me trying to change the external world. Okay,
Mm.
now I'm aware of that. Now I'm choosing. I'm submitting. Like, dude, you're not the controller. And
Mm.
like, what a blessing that you're not the controller. What a blessing that there's a divine higher power that wants the best for you and for every single person on the
Mm.
planet that is the
Yeah.
controller, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, now let's submit to that again. Let's choose that again, you know.
Yeah, totally.
So that's one immediate. And then I would also say, you know, right after that is, if I'm stuck, is that reach out. You know, like there's no question about that. It's just we could, it's like a
Mm.
broken record. It's like, you know, again and again we could say it, but I'm
Mm.
stuck. Okay, I'm stuck right now. Like I'm stuck
Mm.
in this consciousness that's not serving me. Reach out, you know,
Mm.
open up to a friend, open up to somebody who we know is trying to put God in the center of their life, a higher power in the center of their life, and let that flow again. Like let that, by putting that person in the center, by
Mm.
opening up to them, revealing our mind and heart, then it's like it's allowing for God to come back into our consciousness and our heart. So
Mm.
that is those are a few thoughts just sharing right now. You're asking how, you tell me, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, DG? How do you bring that consciousness back into the forefront?
Well, it's interesting, some of the comments that I'm seeing here on Instagram is that, somebody wrote, I'm not the controller. And I think that that's something that we are being forced to reckon with, especially today. I was just reading, I watch the news sometimes, not too much. I don't dive into it too much, but time to time. And, that there have been people who, previously before this pandemic hit, so government officials that said, some who were just saying, this isn't a big deal. It's going to blow over. We got it under control. A week or two, it's going to pass. And like, here we are, it's raging bigger than ever. And it's just kind of like, it's forcing us that as much as we wanted to just think like, this isn't going to happen to me. This isn't going to happen in America. You know what I mean? This isn't going to happen, wherever we are in the world to my life. But then it's just, it's coming, it's here, and we're all facing the consequences of it. And it's just, it's forcing us into that remembrance that I'm not the controller.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, there's an analogy that's given of, a cat and, the mouth, the jaws of a cat to a mouse, those jaws are death.
Mm-hmm.
To a kitten, those jaws are like the perfect place they want to be, because that's how the mother comes and picks up their child and brings them home and lifts them and cares for them. And so the idea that I'm not the controller can be frightening and terrifying, or it could be liberating, and it could be
Mm-hmm.
comforting, and it
Mm-hmm.
could be exciting. But I think it's based off of what is my previous relationship. If I'm a mouse and every time and all my friends, everyone I see, they're getting eaten up by the jaws of the cat, then the idea that I'm not the controller is super scary. And I have to resist that, not even necessarily out of like pride or ego, but just out of survival. Like I've learned that I need to take control of my life because of the way that I've been hurt, or the way that I've seen other people be hurt, or the way things don't get taken care of. If you want to do something good, you got to do it yourself. And so when I think about, you're asking me this question, how do I shift that consciousness? I recognize that that in many ways, spiritual life is a process of mending a broken relationship
Mm-hmm.
that I have with a higher power, with
Mm-hmm.
God, with Krishna. I have to mend this relationship of trust with Krishna. But that's actually what I'm doing day by day. It's not about like finding, it's like, if you ever like, I don't know, you ever been in these relationships where like communication is broken down for a period of time, or I said something really wrong and I know I need to admit it, or they did something to me that they really hurt me. And the easiest thing for me to do is just, you know what, screw you. I'm never going to talk to you again. And I just shut out and I just do my thing, as opposed to I have to muster up the strength and courage to ask that person for a conversation and saying, you know what, you did this, 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 and this, and it really, really hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
But I trust that at the end of the day, we want to make this work. So let's make it work. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I lean into. It's faith that the relationship can work. I believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in that strongly, that is the most important relationship, that if I forget that relationship, there was this song, as we were talking about yesterday, I didn't reference it, but one of this Bhaktivinoda Thakur saints, he wrote the song "Forgetting You." We talk about forgetting Krishna. That I know specifically what it's like to forget Krishna in my life. Like, I know that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite. I reference it often. It's kind of cliche, but one of my favorite scenes from movies of all time is from The Matrix. The Matrix. No, I feel like The Matrix is like one of these big movies everyone references, and I'm like, oh my god, that came out like 20 years ago, 20 some years ago. You know what I mean? It was like when The Grinch came out like 2 years ago, the Christmas movie, and I was like, didn't they just make a Grinch Stole Christmas movie? And I was like, oh my god, that was 20 years ago. And so, dating myself a little bit, but there's this scene where the main character is like having this new option of how he's going to live his life and being pulled out of the matrix. And he's like, I don't want this. I want out of here. I'm like, sure. Yeah. You can get out of the car. You can go back to your old life. And it's like this rainy kind of like iconic, dramatic scene getting out of the car. And he's like, and they tell him, he said, but you've been down that road and you know exactly where it leads. And he stares down this alleyway. It's like, you've been down that road and you know exactly where it leads. So I know our good friend Gauravani writes a song called Surrender. And he says, 30 long years of doing it my way have brought me here. And so I think that's the prayer revolution. That's where we're at today. It's like doing it our way has brought us where we are today in the world. Where has it gotten us in the world? Where has it gotten us in the world? Wealth inequality, mass incarceration, poverty, environmental crisis, health crisis, you know what I mean? Mental anxieties, depression. It's like, where has all this got us? Let's rewrite the script. And so for me, here's how do I shift that consciousness? I lean back, and there's like just this deep conviction in my mind that turning away from God I'm gonna just wind up in a deep dark hole. I've been down that road. So I know that I need to like mend that broken relationship of trust. So what's one small thing I can do now today to just like start to turn back around and face the sun? So that's, the specifics and the details work themselves out, but that's the premise. That's the premise that I put into my mind. And then, we work it out from there.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, just the analogy, sticking with that relationship, and something that Deanna and I often talk about is responsibility, and just kind of what's our relationship with that in our own lives and our relationship, and it's and like what are the empowering principles? It's like, what are, at the end of the day, what are the principles I'm living my life by that empower me? It's like, okay, I look back on my life and say, okay, to ignore that there's a higher power, to push that to the side, to ignore like all the principles that could come with that there's a benevolent, loving, higher power, that everything is happening for a reason. There's a purpose behind it. There's meaning behind it. There's deep meaning and purpose behind it, that not living, pushing that principle away. Yeah, that causes me to suffer, like not taking responsibility in my relationships causes me to suffer, and Deanna and I, we talk about it often, and is that, are we 50% responsible for this, or it's like, no, like we're 100% responsible. Each of us are 100% responsible for the quality of this relationship. And I know for myself, it's like I could point the finger at a higher power and just say like, hey, why are you making me go through this difficulty? Like, what's your problem? What's your problem? Like, what's the deal? Why isn't this made easier? Why isn't this made more clear? And that, to the degree that I'm pointing the finger, of course, I'm pointing it at myself, right? I'm not taking responsibility. That vision remains unclear. It's like I'm sitting, I'm on the mountaintop, it's raining, and I'm sitting in the mud and the rain, saying, why isn't this changing? And it's like, keep hiking, like stay with it, keep going. or it's like, okay, the rain has stopped, but like, I'm like underneath the, the leaves and the cover still, and not even, I'm not letting any of the light in. I'm just like covering myself and, holding myself under. So it's like, what level of responsibility am I taking in this relationship?
Yeah.
Am
Totally.
I showing up in such a way
Yeah.
that actually allows for dynamism to occur in the relationship,
Yeah, totally.
And so that's something that reminds me of that verse in Bhagavad Gita, that as one approaches me, I reward them accordingly,
Yes.
that, as we're, and I just remember that growing up all the time. It's like, as we take steps, like real sincere, committed steps toward our higher power,
Yeah.
that there's a rush of Krishna moving toward us.
Yes.
He's running toward us. Even if we take a baby step or we're just crawling toward him, he's rushing back toward us.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
yeah, so beautiful. You're saying the light, and I was thinking of I was looking up this verse also from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a biography of Sri Chaitanya, and it's a super famous, beautiful verse. It says, I'll even read the Bengali because it's so sweet. Krishna Surya Sama. Krishna Surya, he's like the sun. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoya Adhikara. Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikara. Krishna is compared to sunshine, and Maya or illusion is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness or spiritual life, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy, will immediately vanquish. There was a story when I was in India, January, I was listening to this podcast by a teacher of ours, by Sheshika Prabhu, out in Silicon Valley. And he was saying that the sun, the Lord of the Sun, had a mission for all of the sun rays. And he said, sun rays, please, I want you to go and find me darkness. I want you to bring darkness to me. So please go and find darkness. And so they toured the entire universe. And after so long of searching, they came back and they said, my dear Lord, the sun, I'm sorry, but everywhere we went, we just couldn't find darkness. We just couldn't find it. I know it exists in the world. I hear about it. People tell me about it. People complain about it all the time, but I couldn't find darkness. And he said, and they were told, that's because as soon as you approach darkness, it disappears. And so as soon as the sun approaches darkness, that darkness doesn't exist. It's simply the absence of light. Mm-hmm. And so it's saying that there's darkness in my life, not troubles and trials and tribulations, because that's going to happen regardless. But if I'm feeling darkness in my heart, I'm seeing darkness in the world, maybe I'm just facing the wrong way. Maybe I'm just facing the wrong way. I need to turn around and see that sun. And I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and it was this beautiful, both of us have spent time in 12-step programs regarding growing up or being involved in alcoholic families. And so that even if we don't have substance abuses ourselves, like having grown up in alcoholic families it warps the way you approach relationships. And so we were in these programs that are spiritually based, that we were talking about our experiences there, lessons that we learned, and et cetera. And he said, it was so sweet. He said, when I first found these rooms and these programs and all these things, it was so beautiful and I was so excited. And then he said, and then everything got harder after that. And he said, it's because, and we say this often, he said, it's because you start to come out of denial. You start to come out of denial. And I remember I told this story. I said, my father, who's passed away. He passed away when I was 18, 15, 18, 20 years ago. I asked my sister when I was 30 years old or something. I called her on the phone in California, and I just asked this question. I said, was Dad an alcoholic? And she was like, yeah, of course he was. And I remember that I hadn't recognized it to that point. And in that moment, I was on the phone. I just burst into tears. Like something uncorked in me, because it was like this shocking feeling of like, oh my God, like what have I not been aware of my whole life that I've been looking away from, It was kind of this coming out of denial moment. And I think that in some ways, spiritual life, spiritual reality, we have to allow ourselves the realization that I'm coming out of denial.
Mm.
I'm coming out of denial that I think I'm the controller. I think I'm a 35-year-old white man from California. I think I'm a 42-year-old Indian businessman. I think I'm a 36-year-old single yogini in Europe. You know what I mean? Like I think all those things, and I think all these things about my life, and I think this is my problem, and this is the solution, and it's like allowing myself to come out of denial of material illusion. And that can be hard, and that can be painful, and that can be scary. But when
Mm.
we take that step, it's like I also rest on that belief that like I know that there's that I need, like, I want to submit myself, my dear Lord, please start to pull me out of that denial.
Mm. Mm.
Please start to pull me out of that denial. Because
Mhm.
there are things that I don't know about myself. It was another question that he asked. He was like, what do I not know about myself? Right?
Mm.
What a
Mhm.
beautiful question. What do I not know about myself? There's a
Mhm.
lot. And I'm willing to put my ego on the chopping block. You know, I get people writing up, I'm in denial. We're all in denial. We're totally in denial. And so it's like, how could I pull myself out of the denial? You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a major, it's a paradigm shift, right? It's like looking toward the darkness or looking toward the light, like that that little journey, of the bird turning around, right? We're talking about the bird and the
Right?
tree yesterday.
Yeah.
That going from thinking that I've got it down, thinking that okay, yeah, I have my spiritual life. It's just kind of like,
Mm,
yeah, that's a part of what I do, but like really, like I've got this amazing expansive field that like
mm,
I meant to enjoy, and I've got it down. Like I kind of know how I'm going to get there and how I'm going to succeed in that. It's like, okay, wait a minute, no, I'm in denial. Let's pause. Let's pause for a second. I'm in denial, and
totally.
I'm not going to find it, unless I sit down and I really, I'm not going to find spiritual fulfillment. I'm not going to find, deep connection with myself spiritually unless I sit down with myself and accept that, that I'm a materially conditioned soul and I can't do it on my own. I'm not going to be able to do it on my own. I'm not going to be able to do it my way. I'm going to submit to a higher power.
Yeah.
I'm going to submit to the roadmaps that have been given before me. I'm going to submit to people that are more experienced and advanced on the path, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put myself under their shelter, and much more,
Yeah.
so much more likely that I'm going to start to experience that connection,
Yes. Totally.
and to be able to actually like to be in that like that space, right, of being in denial, right? It could be so subtle and it could be so sharp and so intense and gripping, right? Like
Yeah.
okay, am I in denial? Like we're like asking ourselves that question. It's like, am I really in denial? I'm not sure. I think I know what's good for me, and
Yeah.
uh, and so it really takes that, what's coming to mind as you're sharing that. Like, how do we get our consciousness in that space and feel certainty? How do we
Yeah.
feel that certainty? Because one is, wow, I'm in this state of denial. Okay, wow, now I'm uncertain.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I get myself into this certainty? And
Yeah.
I was thinking of Guru Sadhu Shastra. I was thinking of
Yeah. I was thinking that same thing.
okay, what are those guidebooks that I have?
Yeah.
What
Totally.
are those teachings that
Yeah.
help me navigate the path, and those
Yes.
people that are living in alignment with those teachings that help me navigate
Yes.
the path? And
Totally.
what's my true north? How am I able to start to connect to truth inside of my heart, that intuition, that inner guidance,
Yeah.
through those relationships and through
Yeah.
those teachings?
It's so sweet what you just said. Just to acknowledge some of the quotes that were put here. Vivi out in Switzerland said, one of my favorite sayings is, don't believe everything you think, because we don't even know what we're not acknowledging or in denial about. And then somebody else just wrote, thinking how, if you want to know how I'm really doing, ask my partner. My partner knows all the ways I'm in denial. But it's also what you just said here about Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Guru means a spiritual teacher. Shastra means a spiritual literature, and Sadhu means the spiritually minded people in my community. And so, the spiritually advanced souls around me. So it's like, how am I? It's almost like, it's like, yeah, like you look at it through like the lens of like a program. It's like, okay, I recognize I'm coming out of denial. So how am I going to do that? I need to trustfully place myself in the company of people who I think will help me with this, who aren't looking to get something from me, who are also looking to better themselves. And it's my spiritual association and also my spiritual connection to literature and to teachings, because that will start to bring truth, to bring light into my life. It's like basically like we read that verse, Krishna Surya Sama, that Krishna is the sun. So where am I allowing that sun to, that light to come into my life? Because I've been in darkness, I've been in denial. So where are the ways? Like all I need to do, it's like if you walk into a dark room, it's like turn the light on, or it's like imagine if you walked into a dark windowless room. Of course there's no light in here, there's no windows. Open a window, open the curtains, create a window. It's like, where are the windows in my life where light comes in? And it's people in my life, or it's spiritual truth, it's spiritual literature, whether I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam, etc. And so it's I think that's what we're trying to do here. And that's the question we can arrange our life around. That's the spiritual lifetime. That's the yogi lifestyle, is creating windows, opening windows where light can come in. And another, you were going to say something here? There's another comment here, but you look like you're excited about something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm appreciating it so much and just narrowing it down. I remember a good friend of ours, Ganesham, talking about, he sent me this email one time, and it's probably like 60 verses from the Bhagavad Gita that all talk about, basically, Ganesha, he says, I start my day doubting my mind. I wake up and I doubt my mind, and I submit myself to teachings. I submit myself to spiritual truth, because my mind is measuring and weighing based off of conditioned past. It's just measuring. That's going to be pleasurable. That's going to be painful. I'm going to try to avoid the painful things as much as possible. I'm going to try to create the pleasurable experience as much as possible. And he's just saying, Krishna's saying, doubt the mind. Don't be caught in those dualities. That's not where happiness is. That's not where pleasure is. It's not where joy is. And so as you're sharing that, it's kind of like that denial. It's not self-denial. It's doubting the conditioned mind and submitting ourselves to spiritual truth,
Yeah.
So.
It's just asking the question, who put my mind in control? Who put you in charge? Who said that you're going to be making the decisions? Like, why is that the default? You know what I mean? Like, who said that you're going to be making the decisions of my life? And so there was a comment I saw earlier. A Brinchi pointed out, it's so beautiful. Actually, we can spend a whole session just talking about this. She said, a grieving process of allowing ourselves the grieving process of who we thought we were. And I think that aspect of spiritual life is so important. We talked a little bit yesterday about this spiritual bypass of that, sometimes we don't allow ourselves space to grieve. Like, wow, okay, it's this joyous, beautiful realization that I'm an eternal spiritual spark of Krishna's splendor, and I'm not attached, and get over it. But it's like, whoa, like there's also a grievance experience that if we don't grieve in one sense what we're losing or what we thought was reality in the material world, we sometimes never can relinquish that attachment. And so we also need to allow ourselves healthy space to grieve, and we need to allow others healthy space to grieve. It's a death. It's a death of the ego. It's a death. It's not just a death. It's many, many deaths. Many, many deaths of the conceptions that I had about myself, and it's a dying of that. Like, in one sense, as we open up those windows, the darkness is going away. But we grew comfortable in the darkness. We grow. It's the place we call home. It's what we've known. And when that gets ripped away, sometimes too prematurely, it's so scary, and we resist. And so I think it's also important for us to allow ourselves and others that grieving process of letting go of those conceptions of ourselves. It's a gradual shift. So we are all in a grieving process of coming out of denial. We thought we were what we thought the world was. It's like, I thought the world was meant for my enjoyment. Really? Boom, coronavirus. It's like, what? Oh, oops, that's not working. So it's how can I, okay, I'm not the controller, that's for sure. There's a lot of suffering in the world. How do I respond to that? So anyways, it's 9:30. We're here. Somebody was asking earlier, how do I join this? We're here every day, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Naushin says, Russell Brand says, recovery is recovering the person we were supposed to be if it weren't for the interference of the material world, addiction, illusion. Yes, we are recovering the world person we're meant to be. So thank you, everybody. I saw there were some questions in our chat that we never got to, but we're a minute over. We got to wrap it up. And
we'll save them and we'll come to them tomorrow, DG.
We'll come to them tomorrow.
Ava asked an awesome question too, and
yeah.
we'll explore it together.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And so love you guys so much. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Bryn, Amir, Rasika, Naushin, all of our Zoomers here. We love you guys. We will see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. And we'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, we'll maybe post this on our Instagram. Like you said, on our personal Instagram page, Doyal Yoga, Viratanzi, questions that you might have for us, things you want to bring up in the conversation, things you're wrestling with, positive stories you've got going on. We want you to be part of the conversation, so please keep in touch. All right, guys. Haribol. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Ava. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Trisha. Silas, good to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.